Welcome to episode 17 of Best of the Midwest, folks. This week I have Mitch Mandel, aka Malevolent. He is a local St. Louis rapper. He makes his own beats, writes his own raps, performs his own, does all of the recordings and everything like that. He's pretty dope. I've been working with him. We met doing a gig together, and he's been helping us out doing shoots and everything. And then we found out he does music, and then decided to have him on. But somebody else asked me when I drop these podcasts. I've been trying to do them bi-weekly, so it's every other Friday. So today is the 14th, and then I'll do one at the end of the month. So I think that'll be the 28th will be the next time I do it, and then I'll just do it every other Friday. Would like to do one weekly, but there's just too much going on. So I'll just start making more posts about that, though. Keep you guys informed. Also, subscribe to some of the stuff, like subscribe to the YouTube and the follow the Spotify. I know I've been trying to get more platforms like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Audible, Podbean. I'm still trying to get some other ones going on. So just follow and subscribe and leave comments. You can email me at bestofthemidwestpodcast@gmail.com. Email me with ideas. I know there's some people that have, after the Bo Ottemeyer episode, we've had some interesting sci-fi fans email me / message me on Facebook with some stuff. Go on the Facebook. Go on the Best of the Midwest Podcast Facebook. Follow that. That'll keep you updated. I know on my end I gotta do my job and keep you guys informed when I'm coming out with stuff and keep you guys posted. But I appreciate the listens. We're getting more and more going, and I'm trying to get more and more interesting stuff going. But yes, Mitch Mandel, Malevolent. I'm gonna play a few of his songs. He gave me a few of his songs. So we're gonna start out the ep with one of those. Hope you enjoy it. Enjoy this episode, and you guys just enjoy it.
Whoa, take her easy there, Pilgrim.
Boy, I got vision and the rest of the world wears bifocals.
Well, son, since you haven't learned to respect your elders, it's time you learn to respect your betters.
It is, I think, going to be a very harsh and unpleasant kind of business, and will, I think, require an extremely harsh and unpleasant kind of man to see to it.
I'm your huckleberry.
Self-defeated, repeatedly, seemingly hopeless. Host is under hypnosis, PTSD diagnosis. Tolerance grown to the doses, raising up toast, losing repose, soothing no woes. High from my lows, maintaining composure. Close without closure, ignoring torture. Shoulder is colder, imploring over.
Joseph is young, and you know how impulsive he is. When he's had a chance to think it out, he'll be as proud of you as I am.
I hope so.
So Malevolent.
Yes.
Well, and you said it's the hardest thing. Like, how would they mispronounce it?
Malevolent, that kind of stuff.
When you would do shows?
Yeah.
How many shows have you done?
Less than 20. Yeah, less than 20, probably close to it, though.
Like all in St. Louis?
Yeah, and then I did like one little, it wasn't anything big, but it was just kind of like an open mic kind of thing out in Vegas. That was fun. Ooh. Yeah, that was a good time.
Did you get invited to that, or was it something you were there and then you were just like, I want to try this?
I got invited to that, and it was from a friend of a friend when we were just out there kind of on the strip, and they were like, once we're done with this, like, there's this local bar that has an open mic, so you should come out there and do something. I was like, okay.
Did you go out there with your own song, or did you just go out there and
I went out there with my
freestyle?
own song. I suck at freestyling. I went out there with just my phone, and they plugged it into their computer, just loaded up my SoundCloud and stuff, and I did it just kind of over their little PA system, mic system there.
Okay. So, Mitch is your real name, not Malevolent.
Yep.
And so, where did you get Malevolent from? Like, where did that come from?
So originally a gamer tag, and it was one of those things to where it means to find joy in causing pain to others. So it was kind of, like your Call of Duty gamer tag, Grand Theft Auto gamer tag, just kind of, around those because you always want to win in the video games. But I related it to kind of like a scarlet letter kind of thing, or the idea of wearing it as kind of like the name of my oppressors and having dealt with people causing me pain for their own enjoyment. And that kind of gives me the ability to reflect on having been dealt the opposite hand of it, and just kind of a means to express it under that moniker. So I took it and just kind of ran with it there.
So you went from your like gamer lifestyle to your music lifestyle, like like
it's all intertwined.
You channeled that from that to that.
Yeah, I came out with a lot more bravado and was trying to be more hardcore rapper and more just kind of like, let me teach you about conspiracy theories and history and just kind of weird all over the place with my music. And then it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago that I actually made it more personal, more like actual poetic, more therapeutic, and actually use it as more like just personal than just as a means to make music and put stuff out.
So you do have music on Spotify. Is that all the music you've ever recorded, or is that...
No, I rebranded myself about 4 years back. Like I just completely removed myself off of social media and everything, and this was like after the point in time where I'd done majority of my performances, and it opened up for some like national acts that were touring around. And then my biggest one was for Common when he came, and it was kind of like, once I started like my corporate stuff, I kind of hushed my music down, and then that just kind of put it to the side. And that also was because as a hobby, it just got really expensive. So, like studio time being upwards of, $50 to $70 to $80 an hour. And then the engineering time that goes with that. And then just the marketing that goes into it, and just buying the beats, because I wasn't my own producer at that time. So a lot of the pullback was because I didn't want to keep putting money into it, because I enjoyed doing it, but it became really expensive. So I taught myself how to make beats, which took about 2 years. After about 6 months, I was decent at it. I could compose them, put them together, lay them out, but it was the idea of the actual audio engineering behind them to make sure the kicks had enough hit, the bass had enough drag, and just things kind of like that'll actually make it like studio quality or radio quality kind of sound. That took me another year to actually figure out the audio behind it. And then now I'm just running with it, now that I can make my own beats in about 45 minutes and do all the audio engineering myself and just whip it up as soon as I make the beat, write it, and just record it and put it out.
So when did you start making music?
I started making music when I was about 11 years old. I remember writing my first song actually in Dallas, Texas, and my dad was helping me construct this like 3-song. It was like 3 songs in one, and it was just this weird beat change that went through, and I had like these 3 alter ego names. I think one was like Big Money Mitch, another one was Playboy or something, and then I can't even remember what the other one was, because this was before Malevolent. So having just that's what taught me how to do it. And then that kind of goes into, he was a rapper and still is a rapper. I still produce music for him, so he was my inspiration to get into it. So once I think it was like MySpace days too, so it was just a lot of music was going around. We were making our own MySpace pages. I was like, I kind of want to write a song, and he's like, I've been waiting for you to want to write a song. So we sat down at the kitchen table, and literally he taught me chorus, verse, like break it down, set your theme, just the rhyme patterns as to the lines, and yeah, so that was kind of the foundation of it.
So like when you were 11, that's when you started, like, because I remember when I was a kid, I started making videos like around that time, and I was making like fun little videos, and then like as I got older, I started taking it more seriously, kind of like I got into that like art, like I started really taking like the art more seriously. Instead of like making sketches, I started like making like, okay, I want to take this more seriously. When did that transition happen for you?
So it was all kind of under his umbrella. So it was the matter of, once I got started, We recorded that song, I want to say, in the same studio that he was recording one of his albums in at the time, because he was signed to a label called Chain Duck Records, and they were located out in kind of the Clayton, Richmond Heights area, and he was putting together his album there. They played all live, instruments, and it was just nicely orchestrated, and there was one song in particular called Kick It. I have a tattoo on me that says Kick It, and it's like 2001 under there. It was like my first year starting to like officially rap, I believe, and that was the first song. I was in the booth, I had all the lyrics memorized, and there was also a music video that was going to be shot to that also. So at the age of 11, I recorded that song. I was in a music video that we had maybe like 3 or 4 different locations for. It was shot by a decent production company at the time, and yeah, we still have that out to this day. It's funny to go back and watch it because I'm 11 sitting there rapping with adults in these party situations, hopping in limos kind of on Delmar Loop near Fitz's and stuff. It was a really fun day, and we had a lot of people come out to that video shoot. Like, you'd be surprised.
Is it on the internet still?
It is on the internet.
We'll have to put a link to that.
The Wanted MCs Kick It, and his name is Mitch Freeze. That's my dad and inspiration.
Big Mitch and Mitch Senior, Mitch Junior.
Yep.
Well, cool.
We want to put out so since I'm making beats for him, we want to release a project later on called Where's My Mitches.
So you guys still work together closely. You were saying that right before this, that he was like your inspiration to make music and everything. And so you guys have been doing that together still to this day. So he was your inspiration to get into it. Like, who are kind of some more of your like musical inspirations that you kind of like? Do you listen to anybody that kind of gets you going, kind of gets you like really like inspired to like lyrically, like with beats or something like that? Or you ever listen to somebody like, oh dang, like that's like kind of like?
So probably one of my favorite artists is A$AP Rocky. Okay. Just in regards to fashion, he has made some of his own beats. I'm not sure if all of them, but everything that he's on, I just love the aesthetic of it. I love his fashion in it. And he just has a lyricism that is not like others, to the extent of where, it's like he may still rap about the same things that you may hear the common rapper rap about, but he does it in a artistic way. So I really appreciate his just artistic style, his dress style, and so that's someone who I look up to when I hear his music.
When you say like fashion, you mean like actual dress?
Yes.
So that's something you look at too?
Yeah, and it all goes into it, and he pulls it off well, and it's just cool to be a rapper, to be able to go into the fashion industry, because like he's a model that is like poster boy for a lot of these big brands and like these really big like runway brands in Paris and all over the world and stuff like that. So that would be a really cool transition to get into, and he's got into acting and stuff like that too. But if I were to do it, it'd be a possibility, but I would love the fashion aspect of it, and that kind of goes into the photography stuff and other things that I do and just kind of other passions.
So yeah, so you do photography. That's kind of how we met through a mutual client, that you were doing photography, we were shooting video, and then since then we kind of like worked together a few times. So what else do you shoot? So you kind of said you shoot with models and stuff like that. Is that, how do you relate that to your like music and stuff? You obviously into fashion and everything. So how do you like mix all that in there?
So I got into it just like I knew it was in my back pocket as something to do, because I always kind of took pictures and just did kind of the set design, and then just directed my own videos and my own like album arts and things as I was just coming up as an artist. So I kind of had that background, and then just when I wanted to kind of make some extra money, I was like, all right, I'm gonna use my camera and see what I can do, because I have the eye for it, for what it is. And just going out there, started doing weddings and events, and that led me to models just through a mutual client, mutual friend that was teaching me some things. And that's just really fun to do, and that actually allows me to be more artistic and actually more in control of what it is that I'm putting out, and not just taking pictures of just events and actually just pleasing clients. But this is more so just to kind of please an artistic side of myself, and it's just strictly for fun when it comes to the model work.
Do the images you shoot like ever like inspire your music?
I've wanted to use, like when I first started doing it, I had the idea of using different women to do like the album arts for my projects, but that would like, I'd probably need a lot of women in order to keep taking a lot of those pictures, as much music as I plan to make. But that's kind of why I wanted to do it. And then even now, it's like if there ever was a crossover, I'd be able to get some models in music videos and or for album art if I needed to. So. Well,
what about male models?
I haven't shot a male model yet.
One right here.
Okay, there you go. One came out and asked though, and I was like, "What you trying to do?"
I mean, I don't know. Bigfoot. That's what you should call the album. No, that's what you could call the album art. So with your photography and your music and your fashion, oh man, it's like you're so like across the board with everything. Do you ever just go out and shoot other things, like, or is it mostly just models? Like,
I
is
appreciate I appreciate nature, and that's kind of why. So just like outdoor landscape, just even if it's like architectural building style photography, it's a reason to get out and just take in the atmosphere. And that's why I appreciate it. And most of the jobs that I do, I always show up an hour and a half early just to walk around and scout. And that gives me time. That gives me time just to be outside and actually enjoy it as more than a job, because I figure I'd either be in the house, doing whatever, but if I'm being out here to be paid and to actually, do something with the camera, then I'm gonna go out there, enjoy some time for myself and just take it in. Because most of the places I get invited to, which is another reason why I enjoy doing the camera work and things, is it takes me places where I wouldn't have been otherwise, just in regards to traveling or parks that I've never heard of or businesses that I wouldn't have like actually visited. So it's just the exploratory aspect of it that I dig.
Okay. And so, like, going back to kind of like your music a little bit more. So when you rebranded yourself, you got rid of all the social media stuff. You kind of, like, what were you kind of doing before you rebranded yourself? Because, like, listening to your stuff on Spotify, it's kind of, like, gritty. And like you said, it's, like, more personal. And I kind of get that with, like, your lyrics. And, like, you have, like, this kind of darker tone with your beats and everything. And like you said, you taught yourself how to engineer and make stuff and sample stuff and everything like that. What was the music you were making before, whenever you were hiring these people and like spending all this money? Do you appreciate the music you make now more than what you were making before whenever you were spending all that money? How does that work? Like, how do you feel about that?
All right, so my very first producer, his name was DJ Snow. He still is Chingy's tour DJ. So I kind of got brought in under that, and he would give me all his like personal beats that he would make. I won't say throwaways, because a lot of them were really good. They were just things that either Chingy didn't want or anyone else that he was working with didn't collect yet. So I'd be able to go in and listen to them. So I'd get these, just kind of stray beats that he had because he wanted to see what I could do and just kind of gave me a chance. So I started writing from there. And I think at that point I was just in college, maybe, 18, 19 years old. So it's like my, where I was pulling from to write music wasn't necessarily personal. It was more so just what I was hearing and what I was reading, and just kind of, being in the collegiate atmosphere. I was just really into history and things like that. So I would incorporate a lot of that. And I was trying to kind of have like a knowledge-based rap, kind of be more like a Mos Def or a Common or, kind of along those lines. And it worked. And I made a lot of good music like that. And it just was too verbal. It was just too much. Like, who all wants to be like really educated when they're listening to music to an extent, so that's kind of what it fell to. And once, and then with that too, so the beats that Snow was giving me, they were kind of more hip hop based and more kind of classic, old school based. And in regards to, and he encouraged me to go out and find other producers, because I was getting all my beats from him. And he's like, I think you should get a different sound. I think you should try to experiment with other, just genres, other kind of feels. So I worked at Fat Buddha, which is off of Lindell downtown, and they get a lot of good artists that come through there. It's a solid studio.
I know a guy that worked there.
I love Fat Buddha. And Ross Vanderslice, shout out to him. He's my engineer there, and he does fantastic work. And yeah, just the studio time at Fat Buddha, buying the beats from the new producer that I found after I stopped working with Snow. Per song, I'd be looking at, $400 to $1,000 kind of, for what it was. But I mean, if you knew, like if you memorized your lyrics, you had your beat ready to go, and it was just like nice and efficient when you get in, you can knock out a song for, $160 to $300. But, it's just, you want to do it right. You want to put time into it, but it's just, preparation coming in saves money. But at the same point in time, it adds up if you're doing, 10 song albums, 15 song albums. So that slowed me down. And then too, it was just kind of the idea of like, why am I making music if it wasn't personally based in? Because I was pulling from outward things more so than from inward things. So it was like, well, now I feel like I got to make, a song a month or a song every 2 weeks to keep up and to keep an internet presence and to do that. And the more I was doing that, the more it became a job. And that kind of goes for anything that I do. Like now, it's like any hobby, anything that I enjoy. If I do it to the point to where it starts to feel like a job, I'm just not going to do it anymore. and I got to find my reason as to why I started doing it. And that's kind of why I rebranded myself. That's why I went back. That's why I took all that away. And then to get back to your original question, I absolutely enjoy making my own music more because what made me want to make beats is one of the producers I was working with after Snow brought me, I hired him to come to my house to make a personal beat instead of just buying from a catalog. And when he set up everything and was going through it and just kind of making the beat there, I was over his shoulder and I was like, oh, that's how you do that. That's how you do that. Okay. I didn't think it was, I'm not going to say simple because it took me 2 years to do it, but seeing it, I was like, I can do that. So from that point on, everything that he brought over, and I paid him homage. I told him, like, I'm not trying to rip your style. I'm not trying to do anything like that, but I just really respect how you work. I respect how you make these. And I went and I bought the same equipment that he had. And for 2 years, I just sat and taught myself how to do it just through YouTube tutorials and everything else, and playing it from phone speakers to car speakers to surround sound speakers to actual, like, my audio amplified speakers, just to make sure the sound was, resonant amongst all of them. And like I said, once I got to the point of that and being able to, you ask these producers, like, well, I want it to sound like this, and I want to sample like this, and I want it to have that dark and that gritty feel, and they can only make what they know. They can't hear what I hear. So it's like now when I go through it, and I was telling you earlier, it's like, yeah, making music for my dad, I can make him beats all day because he chooses samples like that he finds enjoyable, but it's so hard for me to find something that I like. And it was just as hard for me to find something that I like from them or to have them try to make something for me. So it was just kind of inevitable for me to be like, I just got to do this on my own, because if you're rapping to a beat that isn't you, then you can't expect you to be on it. And that's kind of how I feel.
Well, that's cool too. It's like all you.
Yep.
It's like everything is you. It's like it's from the get go. It's like it's all you.
And then to speak on that, so it's like if you listen to my songs, they're all anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute and a half. They're short.
Yeah, they're really short, and I like that. I like that.
But to go into it's all me, like, take that as when you hear the beat, I don't have to rap because that's another form of expression coming out of myself. Like, the entire track is a delivery from me, whether it be the actual, like, song, the beat, the melody, the lyrics. Like, no time is wasted from start to finish because I literally made it from start to finish. So I don't have to rap it and be like, oh yeah, that's my part, because it's all my part.
Well, and like the lyrics that you have in it, like, so let's talk about like kind of like the lyrics you write. What do you read, and like where do those lyrics come from?
A lot of the titles come from poems, and just
written by who, and like who like where do these lyrics come like in?
I follow different like filmography kind of sites and things like that will take quotes from just old classic style movies, or just the darker, more sadder style love type movies, and they'll just post like a screen image of the movie and just give a quote from it. And a lot of those I'll screenshot or save, and I'll be like, that's a song title, that's an album title, just because they're thematic, they have that just feeling to them. And then any song that I do, and for it to not have a chorus or anything, I just want the title to be the title and not something that I have to repeat, because typically if the song title is what the chorus is, and like I just want it to be more just kind of like a book more so.
But okay, so that's where the lyrics are from, because it's like a lot of it seems kind of like philosophical kind of.
Yeah, a lot of it's it's all my own poetry for what it is. But yeah, I write a lot of it late night. A drink kind of puts me in the mood to pull from memories and experiences, and just a lot of the philosophical and the just kind of that context comes from my previous kind of style, because it's like all that knowledge base is still there. It's just a lot of it is more allegorical and metaphorical now, instead of me just
so you're like still pulling from that previous, like you're still pulling from that previous style. You're just like externalizing it in a different way.
Yeah, because kind of the less is more kind of feel, instead of just being like blah 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 at you. I'm gonna refine it, make it more personal, actually speak about how it has affected me and the experiences that I've gone through, more than just saying this is the experience and this is what it is and this is how it affects us all, versus this is my personal experience and this is how it has affected me. And that's actually allowed me to just my music is like one of my favorite lines that I have is psychoanalyzed, I'm Freud, on my couch I'm self-employed. And I am my own therapist with my music. I sit late nights with it. It helps me just rediscover myself. I'll go back and I'll listen to a song after writing it for 3 months, and I'll be like, okay, that's where I was. This is where I am now. And I didn't even realize that's where I was then until I go back and I re-listen to things, because I write them and I just put them out. I don't like, the only time I'm listening to them is when I'm actually like mixing and mastering and editing. Then afterwards, I'm just moving on. So to revisit it later, I'm like, okay. So I just learned a lot about myself through my own writing process.
So you don't like, you don't sit there and like write and think about like, oh, is this what I'm really thinking about right now? Is this like really me? You just go with the flow and you just put it out there, and that's how fast you work. Because usually when you're like working on something, you'll be like, if you're working on it long enough, you're like, wait a second, is this like me? If you work too long on something, it's like whenever like I made a short film, and then like you're doing it for a long time, and it's like a long process, and then you start like thinking about it after like a year, whenever you've written it and you're like acting in it and all this other stuff, and you're like start thinking about it. You're like, hold on, like, and you start like making connections, and I'm drawing like things between you and reality and the script and reality. But like with your process and your short songs, it's just like, okay, I've got this 40-second thing that I want to write. I'm pumping it out, and then you get done with it, and then you re-listen to it, and while you're making it or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I thought that.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how it is. And yeah, I mean, that's just the process of it. And I just love being able to reflect and go back and learn from it. And just the idea of making them so short, it just like, I just like going, like the more that I do and the consistency that I do, because beforehand I was so held up in the realm of perfectionism, and, you know, to have 3 verses and, you know, on a song, and to have it be 5 minutes, that takes a lot of time. And then just with attention spans too is the reason why I make it short. But it's like I'm losing train of mind now. But yeah, I mean, I make it short just for people's attention spans, as well as just the fact I want to make more. Well, and I get it off my chest too. That's kind of exactly what it is.
Well, off your chest, right, yeah. And it's kind of like almost like a journal, because it's like, I mean, when you keep a journal, I guess what I'm getting to is like when you keep a journal, like you have like feelings or something like that, and then like you'll go back to it, and it's like, oh man, I don't know, I don't feel like that anymore. Yeah. So like you're saying like, oh, I go back and I read these things, or I listen to these things, it's like, oh man, I totally felt that. But like sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know if I think that actually. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I like actually feel that way. Do you ever go back to one of your songs and think that and be like, I don't know if I actually feel that, but I still like the song. Yeah, and that was actually a part of the reason why I rebranded a lot of my stuff in the past, is because just as times changed and as, you know, new information came to light just surrounding certain topics and things like that, it was more of a matter of like, I just want to speak about things that are truly personal to me, that can't be taken out of context, that can't change with, you know, just swaying opinions, or that can be taken out of context. Like, no one can judge me for what it is that I say about myself. But then when I'm speaking about, you know, and I wasn't rapping about politics per se, but imagine if I were. Like, how much backlash would come just because of something that I said, or just how I felt about something. And it's like, then that just creates more of a rebuttal, and just that's kind of how it was. I don't know, but it's just a lot easier just to keep it simple, keep it me, make these songs just nice, short and concise, and just throw them out there. And the more I make, the higher probability I have of not necessarily like blowing up. I don't know what my intention is to do it, but I have the idea of like, it only takes one and everything can change in a moment. And, you know, they're fun to make. Has anybody ever been like, oh man, Malevolent, like I totally get what you were saying, like you were saying this, and then you're like, oh, totally not. Or like I mean, do you have people do that? I wouldn't even say I have a huge fan base, to be honest. Like I've released some music in the past, and it's not even things that are out now, but from like my past catalog, I actually had a lot more people that followed me, and that's actually when I was like doing shows and going around with that. And I've had fans reach out and be like, man, that song changed my life. That song opened my eyes. That, you know, that song just, you know, I've helped a few people, you know, I can count them probably on both hands how many people have actually have reached out and have said something. But like, I just got too caught up in chasing whatever it was outside of myself. That like previous, like the first part. Yeah, because it's interesting, because it's like you were kind of like doing it like how the other music, like rappers and stuff, do. Is like, I need a producer, I want to do this, I'm doing it like this, I'm spending this money, I'm doing it this way. Now you've like gone like almost hip hop monk mode. Yep. And like you're just like, I'm just like, I'm like doing it on my own. Yep. And so for you to like completely flip-flop like that, not only for financial reasons, for like personal reasons, because it's like, okay, yeah, I need to save money. I also just like, I mean, was it kind of like a lifestyle thing too? Was it just kind of like, I mean,
I wouldn't, no, because like at the point in time where I kind of pulled back from music, I was making more money, so it wouldn't have been a problem to invest more in the studio and do things like that. It was just, I don't know. Life just kind of pulled me away from it. Like a lot of my stuff is sad and dark and kind of, a depressive feeling.
Are you sad and dark and depressive?
Every now and then, especially when I write. But I recently got put back into that state of mind, and that's when I started writing again. And I'm happy I had kind of the repertoire of everything that I knew how to do, because I was making music prior, but I can't even tell you I mean, it's always been dark, but now it's a lot more personal. And I've become a better artist just from stepping out of how you would do it normally. Like you were saying, I got to get a producer, got to get studio time, I got to copyright all this. Like once all the logistics and the legalities and everything got involved in it, which I know, like that's the business side. If you want to be, a famous artist, you got to know the business side of it too. But the more business that was in it, the more it just kind of just killed my influence. And now that all that is gone, I make better music, I make more music, and I've learned how to do a lot more for myself in the process.
And so, like, I don't really even know how much, I've just kind of, like, listened to it on shuffle and stuff like that. So you have, how long is your album on Spotify right now?
Each album is about 6 to 7 minutes on Spotify, and I got 4 on there, and then 1 that's about to drop soon. So they're short.
So there's like multiple albums. I've just been like listening to it on like shuffle and just like randomly, like it's like, oh, okay, all right, cool. So I didn't know there were different albums. I also like there's kind of like singles, right?
So each album 6 tracks. And the album has its title, its theme, but they all do follow the theme of it. So if you want to go back and listen to them in order, they tell a little story from start to finish, but they're so quick. And the idea with that is they may be separate songs, but it's all just one. It's like, and that's why I try to make them so short, because there's a lot of artists say, oh yeah, my whole album is like one long story, but a 30-minute story versus a 6-minute story, like I get a lot out really quick, and just from the style of the beats and how up and down just kind of the tempo of it is, where it takes you, it's a lot in 6 minutes, and it definitely gets the point across.
And so with this, you said, so you've got how many? 6 albums?
4 on there now.
4 on there
Fifth
now?
one about to be.
Fifth one about to be. How, like, what's how far apart were those released?
So my process as of right now, I made my first one. I held on to it for a while until I basically knew that my production style was tight and that I wanted to actually let it out to the public. Once I put that one out, I had already had another 6-track project done, and that's where I started. So I let that one just kind of be out there for 2 weeks to a month, put the next one out, and then now I'm trying to have a 6-track project at least every month. So
so it's not like a year, it's like you're coming out with them like
monthly. At least I'm trying to. And then any time where it's not like precise by the month is just because of the delays that I have to deal with the sites that allow me to actually upload them to these streaming services, because it's a 3-week wait for those. So that's why I got to make sure I have a project ready to go, because once one comes out, I'll let it get about a week, 2 weeks play, and then I'll let that 3-week time frame for the next one be put in place to release the upcoming one. So that's what I'm trying to do, but I don't want to put a time frame on myself, because I don't want to get caught up, man, I gotta have 6 songs ready for this. So I kind of pulled back from that. I have a project ready to go after this one that's coming out. So after the one comes out, I still have another one ready to go after that, and then I have a song written ready to go after that. So I'm putting together a project, and I'm still like a month ahead, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ahead of where I want to be. But I try not to put too much pressure on myself, because then when I do that, it's like, well, why am I writing if I'm not actually allowing the mood to strike me more so than me trying to strike the mood?
So like no pressure, but like that's kind of like the goal is like, okay, like that quick, but like no time frame or anything like that.
And I could do it, but even contrary to that, that's why I produce for my dad, and I actually really enjoy doing it, because in the time frame that I've made these 5 projects with 6 songs on them, we've made 2 projects for him that each have 12, and then this 3rd project is about to have 12. So he's like slowly but surely catching up, if not going to surpass how many songs that I've made for myself here shortly. And the style of how we choose his beats and make his stuff, and how quick like my turnaround is for making them, recording them, and doing his stuff, it keeps me like motivated to make my own things. But like I was saying earlier, I'm just really picky with choosing my own beats, so it's not even a matter of, I'm just like in a beat block right now, like writer's block, but a beat block, because I hear so many and I'm making so many, but I'm just like, mine has to be really sad and dark. It has to be a really, you know, melancholic melodic tone for me to be like, yeah, I want to rap on that. So I'm like, because otherwise I'm like, that's too happy. I'm like, I don't want that.
Is that so? The ones that are happy, you like give to your dad?
Yeah, yeah. He has a lot of the more upbeat ones, and then sometimes I'll come across like a slower, darker one that I'm like, okay, that still kind of has a little pep to it that I don't like, but that's gonna be dope. And I give him these like dark beats with these hard bass, and he absolutely loves them. And he's like, man, this should be something you're on. I'm like, I thought about it, but I'm giving it to you. So, and it takes me a while. I think the last one I made was probably like a week and a half ago, and then I just make the beat in a day, write it that same night, record it that same night, and then have it done.
And like with your lyrics and stuff like that, with whenever you do record a beat, do you have like an idea of the beat when you're writing the lyrics, or is it like vice versa, where you have the beat and then you write the lyrics, or how does that work?
I always write after. So the beat will be made, and the beat is just kind of a sample selection process. When I first started making beats, I was constructing the chords and constructing all the melodies on the keyboard myself, but just like a writer's block, that beat block gets in, and the creativity of being able just to whip something like completely unique up out of nowhere slowed me down. So then I remember like who I had learned from and just kind of what I had saw people doing. And then, you know, there's a variety of sample packs. There's a variety of these royalty-free sounds, a variety of just all these like free things out there. So I go out there, but of course beggars can't be choosers. So, you know, as I'm going through all these pre-selected samples and things like that from all these different packs, you know, my dad will hear a lot of them. And he's like, yeah, that's dope. I love that. I want to use that. And we'll have a whole list for him. And we'll have like 1 to 3 from like 20 packs that we've gone through. And I've already like burned through all my sample packs that I have, and like we have a whole lot for him, and I don't have any beats as of right now that I want to rap on. So I need more samples.
You gotta fill up that like 6 albums per every 3 weeks or whatever. Dang, dude. Well, so working with your dad so much, I mean, and as long as you have, how is that relationship? And like, I guess he still encourages you, obviously. And so, does he do shows? Like, what's his kind of like music career? Or is he just doing it for fun right now? Like, what is he?
Yeah, so he's just doing it strictly for fun right now, but he is heavily marketing himself. Like, he is trying, like, so these 2 albums that we have out now, like his Spotify, his plays are like above 13,000, and we've only been out with him for maybe like 2.5 months with his projects, and we're already about to release a 3rd for him. So he is building momentum. He's keeping consistency. He's already started his own website. Like, he's just doing everything that should be done, and I actually really admire it and dig it, because I don't have the drive to want to push myself business mode wise for my music anymore. Like, it's strictly just for me, and it's like I make a lot that I don't put out, and it's just a matter of I just rather do it for me. And now that it's allowed me and him to be able to make this music and have fun doing it, his enjoyment level out of it like surpasses mine by far, and it makes me really happy to see how happy he is, and he kills it. But at the same time, like I was saying, it inspires me to want to keep making my music, because, you know, being all the sad and the dark and depressive, like, I don't want to do a lot of stuff sometimes. So it's like getting back into the mood to want to write and to like make them. Like, I make so many beats now, it's ridiculous. Just because he's like, I already pre-wrote songs. He's like, I got 6 songs ready to go. He's like, I need beats. And I'm like, man, I got to make 6 beats in 5 days. Like, all right, let's do it.
And you guys also like have other jobs on top of this stuff too, so you guys are just like earning and burning.
Yep, it's a weekend thing, and I'll make them in my downtime throughout the week. And every Sunday we'll link up, and he has what's called Attic Beat Studios, Freeze Attic Beat Studios, and he has an entire studio, sound booth, everything up in his attic. And I bring my own personal mic over my laptop with all my engineering stuff on there, and just plug in, and we just get to work. But then to go back to him and kind of what he's doing, like, he started off little. He started off, I remember he said he had traded in like a gold chain that he had or something for a beat machine. when he was young, and then he started making beats from there. And then from that point, he formed a rap group with 2 of his friends from high school. They went on to become the 1980s state rap champions. And this was in the 1980s. There weren't many white rappers out there, so he had to face kind of the alter adversity of being the only white people in the room and just being booed off stage because they weren't representing and things. So he had his own controversy in it, but he always showed up. They always put on great shows, and they always showed respect. And he has carried this on all the way up until I was born. I grew up hearing his music. I grew up being in the studio around him and his in his rap group, just putting things together. And now it's just leading to me producing his music, because he bought me my first beat machine and put me in the studio the first time. So it's just kind of been following in the footsteps kind of deal, and I absolutely love it. And I'm happy that I can give back now.
Does he still hang out with this group?
Yes, and he sends them all the songs that we're making, because now he's doing a lot of solo stuff. But it wasn't, maybe 3 years ago, if not even sooner, they've been releasing stuff. They have up-to-date music videos still out on YouTube. They still make stuff. And it's Mitch Freeze, Chris Potts, and DJ KMT is the group, and their group was the Wanted MCs. And they have albums out as the collective on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and everything. And then he has his own solo projects now that me and him are working together.
I'll get the links, and we'll put them on the descriptions of all the
and that
all
old
stuff.
music video of ours too. You can see me 11 rapping. It's
Mitches.
It's embarrassing. Where's my Mitches?
Where are my Mitches at? You said you opened for Common, and so how did that come about? What happened? How did that happen?
This was over on the other side of the river, east side. We were putting on an event called the Peace Fest.
Who's we? What was that?
This was me and a organization that I was working with, and they had put together the event, and it was inspired, or at least brought together, to commemorate Mike Brown, and his family showed up, and this was after the Ferguson riots, and the Peace Fest was just exactly what it sounds like. We were just bringing everybody in together, paying homage to the situation that happened, giving respect to the family, and just seeing what we can do as a community to give back and to raise awareness and to make sure that these things, wouldn't proceed to happen any further. So Common showed up. We had who was out there? Who else came out? Dang, I can't even remember. It was a little minute ago, but it was a really good time. We brought out a lot of people. We had radio stations out there, and it was fun. And Common definitely did his thing.
Well, cool. So what is kind of the future goal, after you release this next album, and you said you got some other stuff going, do you just kind of take it a step at a time, or do you have an end game goal, or what's kind of
just a step at a time? And it's all dependent on, I guess, my state of mind, how I'm feeling. It's I don't want to be sad and not forever, but it definitely helps my aesthetic of music. But yeah, and typically when I'm happy, I'm not making as much music, which that's fine with me, because that means I'm out enjoying myself. And I don't know, it's weird. I make music as a means to get out of my funks.
So what's your funk? Why are you in your funk?
Just relationship drama, just old stuff, blah blah blah.
Love is for losers,
at this point in time. Joking. But it makes great music.
All the sad stuff, man.
Yeah, my new song that I'm making is called Don't Hide from Heartbreak, and the whole idea behind that is just embrace it. It makes you a stronger person. It makes you overcome adversity. It changes you, but in a good way. And that's kind of what I'm going through, and that's why I like this new song so much.
One, I was gonna ask. I kind of meant to ask it earlier. So with the albums that you have now and the ones coming up, do you ever try to tweak a style, tweak your kind of like how you write your lyrics, or is there anything you try to do differently than the album before? Is there anything like that, or is it just kind of you are in this zone and you're just okay, I'm pumping it out like this, I'm pumping it out like this. I have a formula, and this is how I do it.
I have a formula, and it's I use the same drum kit, I use the same sounds. I feel like it fits my aesthetic. I feel like by doing it that way, there's no ifs, ands, or buts in regards to me releasing it, because I know I like all these sounds, and even with the sounds in the drum kit, over that 2-year period of learning how to make the beats and stuff, I've completely tweaked all those sounds to my own style and kind of distortions and just kind of echoes that come off of things, and just every little aspect of the sound has changed just because of how I like it. So I have my formula. I go in, I use about 7 or 8 different tracks for each beat, and my audio will make it 9. Typically I can get it all out in one. I don't really do too many ad libs, And, you know, I just treat it just like a poem. You know, the beat will come on. I express myself musically by having made it for, you know, the intro. I'll rap my little poetic verse, and then I'll just let it play out with the music, and that was my story to tell. Nice, short and sweet.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to the new one.
Thank you. I think it's destruction is a form of creation.
All right. And when is that coming out?
The 17th of this month. So
okay.
A little while.
I'm gonna send this out. This is gonna come out Friday, so that's the 14th. So we'll get the links and we'll put it on the descriptions and everything. I think we'll wrap. Unless you got anything else to say, man.
I think I'm good. Yeah, just appreciate.
Well, thanks for hanging out and recording with me at Best of the Midwest, dude.
Yes, sir.
All right, dude. Thanks a bunch, Mitch.
Thank you.
What happened? I made a big mistake. I swung on Charlie Powers. Kept making wisecracks about Hoss, and I lost my temper. Boy, did he work me over.
Escaping reality, daily occurrence, patience and alienation, fate and assurance, war and importance, important accordance, imploring the dormant, ordinance, ornaments, controlling coordinates, hoarding us more than a hostage, lore and a conscious, door and a bondage, dishonest options, growing the fondest, dawn is upon us.
Take her easy there, Pilgrim.
Boy, I got vision and the rest of the world wears bifocals.
Well, son, since you haven't learned to respect your elders, it's time you learn to respect your betters.
It is, I think, going to be a very harsh and unpleasant kind of business, and will, I think, require an extremely harsh and unpleasant kind of man to see to it.
I'm your huckleberry.